Russia face any consequences if Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday?
Yes, they will. Yeah.
What will the consequences
there will be
be? Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences, yes.
U.S. President Trump threatens severe consequences for Russia if the upcoming meeting does not go well. Trump hopes to achieve a ceasefire with Russia. Meanwhile, U.S. President told the European allies that the matter of territories will not be discussed with Putin. However, Trump is ready to propose Putin economic cooperation. What are President Trump's expectations ahead of the meeting, and could Trump and Putin reach a ceasefire deal over Ukraine? U.S. President Trump threatens severe consequences if Putin does not agree to peace in Ukraine. Trump did not specify what the consequences could be, but he has warned of economic sanctions against Russia. However, President Trump is confident that Putin will attend a summit in Alaska on Friday to negotiate a deal to end the war. He will make a deal, Trump said. The American president also noted that his goal is to move on a trilateral meeting with President Zelensky, offering 3 different places for it. Quote, "If the meeting is not successful, I will not call anyone, I will go home. But if the meeting is successful, I will call President Zelensky and the European leaders." Trump also stated that the secondary tariffs against India have eliminated their ability to buy Russia's oil. Also, Trump said that his meeting with Putin is not a reward for Russia. Donald Trump predicts that his meeting with Putin has a 25% chance of failure and 75% chance of success.
Mr. President, thank you. Do you think this summit and the incentives for peace you are putting on the table could end up rewarding Putin for his invasion of Ukraine? And what kind of signal do you think that could potentially send to other aggressors?
No, I don't think it's a reward. I think that what we have is a situation that should never have started, It didn't start under me, and for 4 years it wasn't even discussed. And I could see it was going to happen after I left. I could see what was happening. Everything that we did was wrong. Everything that was done was wrong. Everybody's to blame. Putin's to blame. They're all to blame. This is a war that would have never happened.
Mr. President, does Putin have a strong hand tomorrow?
Well, he came to our country, and I heard CNN fake news talking about that was a big win for him. Normally, you would say the opposite, but they said, oh, it's a big win that he came here. Normally, we would say the opposite, he came here. I think that President Putin would like to see a deal. I think if I weren't president, he would take over all of Ukraine. It's a war that should have never happened.
Mr. President,
if I weren't president, in my opinion, he would much rather take over all of Ukraine. But I am president, and he's not going to mess around with me.
Meanwhile, U.S. President Trump says that Ukrainian territory would not be discussed during the meeting with Putin, according to CNN. Although Trump did not use the term, he said that he believed a ceasefire would be a show of goodwill on the part of Russia, and also said that Ukrainian territory was not the subject of negotiations, which left the impression that he would not consider any Russian offers that they would gain control of Ukrainian territory in exchange of ceasefire. The main message from the Europeans was that Ukraine should be included in negotiations. However, expectations from the meeting are not high. Trump also expressed support for security guarantees for Ukraine that would include a U.S. role. The idea of imposing new sanctions, including secondary tariffs, was discussed if the meeting did not go well. Trump says that he was thinking about it but did not commit. However, Trump could impose new U.S. sanctions very soon if the meeting went badly. Also, yes, President Trump has expressed concerns that the presence of Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky in Alaska could hinder talks with Russian dictator Putin, according to the Wall Street Journal. European officials demanded direct presentation of Ukraine in Alaska, offering NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte or President Zelensky. After calls with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, European leaders abandoned this demand while publicly urging Zelensky to participate. The reason for this is that Trump expressed concerns that Zelensky's presence at the very beginning could disrupt negotiations. However, Trump agreed that after meeting with Putin, he would first brief Zelensky and then European allies on the results of summit. President Trump told Ukrainian President Zelensky and European leaders on Wednesday that his goals at the summit are to achieve a ceasefire and a better understanding of the possibility of a full peace treaty. According to Axios, Trump stated that his goal is to achieve a ceasefire and better understanding of the possibility of a full treaty on the upcoming meeting with Vladimir Putin. At the same time, American President downplayed the likelihood of significant breakthroughs after the conversation in Alaska. French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, who also took part in conversation, confirmed after it ended that Trump had said he wanted to try to achieve ceasefire. Zelensky told Trump during the phone call that Putin cannot be trusted. Trump told the leaders that he believes that a peace deal would require a territory swap. Macron took a very tough position and told Trump that the meeting is a very big concession to Putin. Also, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte was very active during the phone call, as well as Prime Minister of Italy and Polish President Karol Nawrocki reminded Trump of the Battle of Warsaw, which took place exactly 105 years ago when Poland, together with the Ukrainians, fought against the Russians. President Trump also commented on the results of his call with European leaders.
We had a very good call. He was on the call. President Zelensky was on the call. I would rate it a 10, very, very friendly. I know the leaders because I was at NATO, as you know. I took it from 2% to 5%, 2% that wasn't paid, 5% that is paid, which is trillions of dollars in defense capability. No, it was always going to be, I was going to meet with President Putin, and then after that, I'm going to call the leaders and President Zelensky. I'm going to call President Zelensky, and then I'll call, probably in that order, the leaders. There's a very good chance that we're going to have a second meeting, which will be more productive than the first, because the first is I'm going to find out where we are and what we're doing. Again, this is Biden's war. This isn't my war. He got us into this thing, and it should have never happened. This war would have never happened if I were president. But it is what it is, and I'm here to fix it, and I'm here to stop 6,000, 7,000 people last week. 7,213 people last week were killed, mostly soldiers. But missiles being lobbed into towns don't exactly help either, but mostly soldiers, and Ukrainian and Russian. They're not American soldiers, but if we can save a lot of lives, it would be a great thing. I've stopped 5 wars in the last 6 months. And on top of that, we wiped out the nuclear capability of Iran, obliterated it. It's turned out to be a correct word, by the way, because some of the press said, well, maybe it wasn't obliteration. It was obliteration. And we're going to meet with, I would say, the second meeting. If the first one goes okay, we'll have a quick second one. I would like to do it almost immediately. And we'll have a quick second meeting between President Putin and President Zelensky and myself, if they'd like to have me there. And that would be a meeting where maybe it could be absolutely work. But the first meeting will not work that out. Certain great things can be gained in the first. It's going to be a very important meeting. But it's setting the table for the second meeting. I think the second meeting, if the second meeting takes place, now there may be no second meeting, because if I feel that it's not appropriate to have it because I didn't get the answers that we have to have, then we're not going to have a second meeting.
Also, President Trump is ready to offer Putin to rare earth access to rare earths in Alaska and occupied parts of Ukraine, according to The Telegraph. President Trump will present Putin with a number of business opportunities. The US is ready to open up Alaska's natural resources to Moscow and lift some sanctions. In addition to this, The Telegraph has learned that the US is preparing to offer Putin other financial initiatives to end the war, including access to the rare earth minerals in Ukrainian territories currently occupied by Russia. Other initiatives include lifting ban on the export of parts and equipment needed to service Russian aircraft. Trump is also considering giving Russia access to natural resources in the strait that separates it from the US. Separated from Russia by just 3 miles of the Bering Strait, is estimated to have significant undiscovered oil. British sources told The Telegraph that such initiatives could be acceptable to Europe as long as they were not seen as a reward for Russia. Also, Trump told American media that he can withdraw from negotiations if there is no progress at all. This could be the worst-case scenario for the upcoming meeting.
So I'm going to go and see the parameters. Now, I may leave and say, good luck, and that'll be the end. I may say this is not going to be settled. I mean, there are those that believe that Putin wanted all of Ukraine. I happen to be one of them, by the way. I think if it weren't for me, he would not be even talking to anybody else right now. But I'm going to meet with him. We're going to see what the parameters are. I'm then going to call up President Zelensky and the European leaders right after the meeting, yeah. And I'm going to tell them what kind of a deal. I'm not going to make a deal. It's not up to me to make a deal. I think a deal should be made for both. I think Russia has to get back into building their country. It's a massive country. I think they have 11 time zones, if you can believe it. But I got a call that they'd like to meet, and I'm going to see what they want to meet about. I'd like to see a ceasefire. I'd like to see the best deal that could be made for both parties. You know, it takes two to tango, right?
Meanwhile, the New York Times criticizes Trump's invitation for Putin to visit Alaska. A Trump summit is a big win for Putin, according to the newspaper. Trump has presented a big diplomatic win for Russian dictator as he brings Russian dictator out of the diplomatic deep freeze. Russian news agency reports that total collapse of the whole concept of isolating Russia. For Russia, this is a diplomatic breakthrough, even if leaders don't agree on much. Pro-Kremlin experts say. Also, Ukrainian President Zelensky says that Putin will win in this because this is photo opportunity and a way out of the diplomatic isolation. Also, instead of getting hit with sanctions, Putin got the summit. Trump has moved his deadline again and has not yet imposed any sanctions on Russia. And also, Russian dictator Putin has avoided additional sanctions by offering Trump a personal meeting and not a single concession ahead of this summit. That's all for today. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and glory to Ukraine.